Hey everybody, it's me, Max Farrell from DexFXMarkets.com. We're here on this Dex Atomic series. We're going to be talking about the Dex Delta signals and what are they. Now, just as a quick overview, you should already know what the foreign exchange is. If you're here on this video, you're probably looking it up. You're probably looking for NADEX signals or what have you. Or maybe you already know what the North American Derivative Exchange is. You know that the statements over on NADEX is in this particular fashion. It's a statement of greater than. You know that the Euro USD is going to be greater than the 1.3100 at 3 a.m. for an example. And if you decide we agree with that, we'll put in a buy. If we disagree, it'll be in a sell. You should already know those things. You should also know who we are, DexFXMarkets.com. If you're watching this over on YouTube or Facebook or what have you, you'll know who we are by simply going to our website of DexFXMarkets.com. Now, the big question of what are your signals? Our signals are derived over a period of time and movement of the price of the foreign exchange. We know that at certain times and certain statements that NADEX makes that Euro USD 1.3100 will be true or false at that particular hour by previous strategies that we have done. We call a basic strategy or a pattern. And that pattern at that 3 a.m. would always give you a yield of a certain percentage above that. So we would call that a buy signal for that particular time. Each one of these signals is determined by our data team by previous history. And our data team searches the market for the best signals available at the best times and which ones could take. So when our charting system fires off a signal that says that's a signal for that particular time, we see if it's the best one available. Now, what are you using to get your signals? Well, funny enough, it's the same tools you would be using if you traded the manual. That's right. The Dex Atomic strategy uses one of three of the values. So Dex Atomic, this is an indicator that we have over at TradingView. And the indicator at the Dex Atomic level is just showing you how to trade the signals manually. You have to validate them, you have to verify them, you have to see if they're the best level possible. The Dex Atomic X has one upgrade of value, meaning that there are some things that it does that are automated that go onto that chart. Like in the Dex Atomic, you're using what we refer to as a hilt box to engage time over price over a period of time. Now, that Dex Atomic X will automatically write that box on there. You can also filter out the different signals, whether they're validated or unvalidated. Dex Atomics, now on the other hand, has such a high value added to it because this version is what we're using to create our own signals. This version also can attach to our ZDON system where we put out the signals automatically and we deliver those signals also to our Discord unit, which gives you a place to be able to go to get the signal if you're trading them manually. Now, how do you backtest our signals? Again, using the Dex Atomics, as you're going to see here, is that it automatically has a system that analyzes the market over a period of 90 days. And when we apply that, we put all that information into a spreadsheet and we determine what's the best ones to use. And we have a buying strategy that we've determined that is set to be very profitable and it has even more variables that you can determine to which ones you want to use. Depending on the amount of signals per hour and the delta success rate, we then take them to distribution, and the best ones make it to all of you. Now, I said buying strategy. What is that? Well, this is where we determine what level of risk we want to use when we're trading our signals. You are basically getting into a trade with one other person on NADEX, and that trade between both of you should equal $100. So if I put up 50, the other person's also going to have to put up 50, and we each risk $50. Okay, not including fees. This is just a prime example. But if my buy decision that I have is already in my favor, called in the money, I can choose to accept less profit and risk more because I'm already winning. And if I have that chance to win, I may put up $55 worth of risk to his 45. We call this in our industry and in our company a 45-55 trade. The buying strategy also has the risk at this point. If it wins, can win 50 or can win $45, and he loses his 55. This is also called a risk to reward, right? I'm risking 55 to make 45, and that's a 1.3 to 1 risk to reward ratio. This is a good question, and this leads us into a little bit of a clouded area. What is the delta success rate? Well, we also refer to this as a delta level, meaning that if we're trading 45-55 buying strategy, for every $45 of profit, that is a delta of 1. So $90 can equal delta 2. Okay, so in our case, we look at what signals have the best deltas over a period of 90 days. So if a particular pair has a 7 delta over 90 days, you simply take 7 times 45, and that's your delta. But if you have another one that has 10 delta, that means that the second one does better than the first. We would take the first one. Or the second one, I'm sorry. Now, how many signals should I trade per hour? Well, this really depends upon your balance on your Nadex account. Since we're using a 45-55 buying strategy, you're risking $55 per every trade. We suggest that you never risk more than 10% of your balance at any one time. So one contract would equal $55, which would then be $550 at 10%. Now, that's at any one time. That doesn't mean per any one trade. Keep that in mind, that if you have 2 trades on, you should have at least $1,100 in there because you're using a minimum of 1 contract per time, per each trade. What do your signals look like? Well, simply enough, they have, grab out a pointer, they have a date, they have the time. Now this is set in military time, so 1600, meaning that it's 4 p.m. It has a direction. Now this will say sell or buy. Now a sell statement means that we disagree with the statement that's on Nadex saying that it will not be greater than a particular statement price at a particular time. If this said a buy, it means that we agree. You'll have the asset, in this particular case, the Australian dollar versus the US dollar, okay, and an expiry. That expiry means that at this particular time, that trade's going to end. So we're saying, like the statement price over on Nadex, that the Aussie USD at 1500 will be, in this particular case, lower than 7652 in that process, okay? So since we're using the sell statement. The statement itself, 0.7652, this is where we go to Nadex and grab something that says 7652 or higher. Now the or statement here is something that if it depends on if it's a sell or a buy. If it's a sell, we want to be high. We want to grab the trades that are, or statements that are higher. If it says a buy, we would say 7652 or lower. So always pay attention to the or statement here. And lastly, the level number. We'll explain this in detail in the next slide. So how do you filter out what signals, because there's so many of them, which one should you take in that level? Since there's so many of them, this is where we created our levels at. Our signals at the end of the signal have L1 all the way up to L10, meaning that if you can only trade one contract at a time, and so you're only going to be taking one trade at a time, you're only going to trade L1s. Now, the level means that we have found that these are the best of the best, okay? Level 1 signals are the best of the best, and so they get the most attention. As we go up, it doesn't mean that they do worse. There's just more of them, right? Some may be tied for a delta level or what have you, but in our case, taking the L1s and L2s, depending on how many trades you can trade at any one time. Remember what we talked about in risk to reward. If you can only trade one at a time, okay? Trading different L levels all together, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a second, is important because you have to know what and how much you can trade at any one time. This means that if you're at a point where you can only trade one, that means that L1, there's only one trade that can ever happen at that L1 level. You won't get 2 L1s that'll fire at the same time. But if you decide that you want to be able to trade 2 trades at any one time, then you would trade L1s and L2s, okay, every time they come up. So if you see an L1, an L2, and an L4 together, you'll trade just the L1 and L2s if you can trade 2 at a time. But you wouldn't trade anything L3 or higher. Sometimes there's going to be an L2 but no L1. still only take the L2. This is putting you into a particular pattern that we have, that we know that if you're trading L2 filter, that you'll have a certain amount of success. But if you start trading L2s and L4s, just because there's only 2 trades there, then you're going to falter and we won't be able to track your success properly. Okay? Now, what is the signal success rate? Our buying strategy is set to at a risk of $55. So we only need a 56% success rate to be profitable. You see how that works? Pretty wild, right? We are currently running between 60 and 78% success, depending on the solution you try, right? If you're trading L1s, you might have the higher end of that solution. But it really does depend. Most of the time, we are above, as we accumulate all our signals together, way above that 65 to 78% success rate. And this is really good, especially once you start filtering out some of the pairs that you don't like trading with. That'll get you a lot of experience there once you start trading. You'll keep a journal, you'll do a lot of things there. There are many variables to consider when trading signals. So make sure you also reach out to people that are using the signals already manual and having success. But again, trading is happening all day. I don't have time to sit in front of my computer. This is one of the biggest things that I hear all the time. Okay, so you got to make a tough decision here. Okay, let's be real for a moment. You could trade the trade manual with your own signals, meaning go to dexfxmarkets.com, get the Dex Atomic X or the Dex Atomic, and learn how to trade them yourself. Trade in your best hour, we call your Einstein hour, or 2 hours or 3 or what have you, and do what you got to do. So you're trading it at that level. If you don't have time, then you can force your trade to happen. You can only trade during peak times. Trade at your best time. Trading an L1, L2 that you can only manually trade at that point, then you got to make sacrifices there. Okay, you may have a different success rate than somebody that has a chance to trade them all day. And if you don't have a chance to trade them all day, or you want to be able to trade them faster, you would simply use our ZDON system under the manual setting. So when the signal comes to you, you simply push the button and the bot will do, or the system will do its job. It'll put the signal onto Nadex. We have limited license for the ZDON auto system, so if you decide that it's something that you don't want to do, is sit in front of your computer or while you're sleeping, try to get up in the middle of the night to trade, and you want something to trade for you, this will work. But again, there's sacrifices with that process, so it's a sacrifice of cost. Okay, there's challenges and costs to everything. It really does depend on you. So if you want something, you're gonna have to pay that does it all for you. You're gonna have to pay a little bit more money, or you're gonna have to pay in with your time by trading yourself. Okay, so if you're unsure which way to go, which process to take on, then simply meet with us and discuss what is best for you. We have free consults available. You can meet with us in Discord. You can meet with us on the phone. We can do screen shares and show you a lot of different things. But the one thing that we ask when you do that is to make sure that if you are coming to this, come to it with an open mind and an understanding. We've been in this industry for over 7 years now. We're very transparent, upfront, and honest, and we want to keep it that way. So if you have ulterior motives or anything else, I don't think we're going to be able to help you. If you want something for nothing, we won't be able to help you. How we can help you is to show you the best path for you to get to your idea of success. Okay? As a recap, we're going to determine your level of trades that you can take. Okay? You're going to create the best solution that meets your demands and time. You're going to take it slow. You're going to practice and demo. It's not about profit. It's about consistency and proficiency. Okay? And most of all, we're going to reach out to others for when we need help and guidance and support at any time. That's really, really super important. I'm Max Farrell. This is Dex Atomic Strategy and Dex FX Markets. I can't wait to see you inside. And as always, trade well.